Hello everyone and Ramadan Mubarak. We are starting a new program called The Middle East, 3 events and 3 comments. In this program we try to cover the major events and developments in the Middle East, and we try to make sense of and explain these developments vis-a-vis the Middle East. And our first event is about Donald Trump, the tension and war of words between Trump and Iran. And as you know, Iran is also launched a satellite by using missile technology lately. And also we hear that Donald Trump threatened Iran, and the tension is kind of escalating. Donald Trump tweeted on Wednesday that he has directed the Navy to fire upon any Iranian gunboats that harass the U.S. ships and this can be seen as a new sign of tension between both sides. Second development, also the satellite issue. I think Iran developed his satellite and missile technology so that they can have a say on the region, and this caused concern among the Western countries like the UK and also the Gulf countries, plus the acquisition of Iran by Iran of a drone, armed drone, that UAV that can fly up to 1,500 kilometers is also a serious development, and we kind of were witnessing Iran probably gave these technology to the Houthis in Yemen, and they were harassing the Saudi facilities and Saudi cities by these UAVs and also armed vehicles. So the tension in the Middle East is kind of escalating, and many Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates hope that Trump would destroy Iran and Iranian regime, but Trump fell short on this, even though he brought in hawks like John Bolton and others. He did not attack Iran, did not destroy the Iranian regime, and we don't see any policies in that regard. But Trump is squeezing Iran to death or to the table, so he can get different terms or better terms, in his words, to push Iran to the negotiation table. But Iran is not living idle. Also, they are harassing, they are also attacking on the ground by different proxies on American interest in, especially Iraq is becoming a battleground for the American and Iranian tension. So our second event is that Pompeo, the American Secretary, Foreign Minister in a way, Mike Pompeo, his Egyptian counterpart, Sameh Shukri, and he told them to protect American prisoners in Egyptian prisons to be safe from the coronavirus pandemic. And as you know, Trump describes Sisi as his favorite dictator, and he has no problem with the human rights abuses and the sufferings in prisons, also persecution in the country. But he worries about his administration, only worries about Americans in Egyptian prison, and we know the situation in the Egyptian prisons is very bad, and people are suffering, dying, or getting sick, and they don't get any treatment. One major example was on this mistreatment and bad conditions that the former Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi died in poor health conditions, and he didn't get any treatment and any help from the government. And by the UN report, Egypt has about more than 100,000 prisoners, and their condition is not very good. So Trump again, on the Egyptian front, Trump is pressuring a little bit on the Egyptian government, but for the sake of American citizens, and they don't care about other Egyptians who suffer from health conditions and also from the coronavirus and other issues. As long as they go along with the American policies, they they seem to be fine with Sisi. Our third news is from Israel. As you know, Israel has ultra-Orthodox Jews that try to live and maintain their own traditional way of life, and they are against using technology. They mostly they try to stay away from the use of internet, smartphones, and even TVs, etc. And it's both traditionally. Also, they are against modern media teaching lifestyle to their children, maybe far away from their own traditional teachings. And even the ultra-Orthodox rabbis are against the use of internet. But the arrival of the coronavirus forced them also to change their lifestyle, and this is another example of how health issues and how technology and how social conditions affect on social life and religious life. This is a good example. These devout Jews, religiously more or less devout and committed Jews, they began to use more of internet, smartphones, etc. They go, by a recent report show that they go online to do shopping, plus studying, and also maybe even video chats. The coronavirus forces them to stay mostly at home. And these ultra-Orthodox groups are living generally around the suburbs of different cities, but especially the Tel Aviv suburb of Bnei Brak is filled with ultra-Orthodox Jews, and they are very crowded, and the virus spread among them very quickly. So the government even is forced to take a measure for a complete lockdown to prevent the spread of disease in these territories, in these neighborhoods. Plus the poverty and maybe lower degree of level of life standards also caused them not to pay much attention to the measures. They were kind of reluctant to obey these lockdowns and obey these measures, like we see in other parts of the world, especially in America, like evangelicals are not also so eager to believe in the threat of coronavirus, like Trump also may be affected by them. They estimated the seriousness of this corona threat. But this news also show us that any society, no societies are far away or exempt from this coronavirus, and generally Israelis are torn up between the polarization by Gantz and Netanyahu. And finally, I think they are about to form a coalition government, a broad coalition, and they are anti each other. They are very hard to deal with each other, but at the end, this coronavirus maybe saved the career of Netanyahu, because he was gonna to probably go to jail because of the corruption charges. But this coronavirus maybe mostly helped him while hurting others. So he's probably able to save his political career because of the emergency caused by the coronavirus. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in another episode.